The Interactive Automation Toolkit is a DIS community package that allows you to easily create and modify interactive automation scripts. In this video, I'm going to show you how I created an automation script using this community package and how you can leverage its features. The Interactive Automation Toolkit is a DIS community package that allows you to easily create and modify interactive automation scripts. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use this package to create an interactive automation script. But before I show you the actual script I created, let's first connect to DataMiner Dojo so I can show you where you can find this community package. So here you can see that I'm connected to DataMiner Dojo and I'm on the DataMiner Integration Studio page. So this one is available through Expert Hub's DataMiner Integration Studio. If I scroll down on this page a bit, you see there is a link to the class library packages. And if I click this, one of these packages is the Interactive Automation Toolkit. So this is a community package, which means that it's not standard available with DIS. So once this one is downloaded, you still need to reference it in DIS to be able to use it. So how do I do this? In my Visual Studio, I go to DIS, then select Settings. And when I go to the Class Library tab, you can see the base package. This is the one that is available inside DIS itself. And here you can add as many community packages as you want. The one that I linked now is the Interactive Automation Toolkit that we use for this script. So this is just a zip file that you can link here. So once this is linked, I'm actually able to use this in my automation script. Whenever I'm using community packages, DIS will then automatically add an additional exe block, so an additional C# action, with the name DIS class library, set precompile to true, and then what will happen in your main script, the one that you edit yourself, a reference will be added automatically to this DIS class library C# block. This way, this script can actually use code that is added here. Note that you never need to touch this manually yourself. DIS will always include the code from whatever community packages or the class library you have configured in DIS settings. And this will automatically be added only the code that you use in your main script. So let me now show you how the community package works, or how you use the interactive toolkit and what the big difference is. Mainly, I never need to work with the standard DataMiner components, UI block definitions, UI builder anymore. Instead, what I need is a controller, an interactive controller, and one or multiple dialogues. So dialogues are the windows that you create to be shown. In my case, I have now created one configuration dialog. And in my controller, I can actually then decide which dialog I want to show. So let's go through the script together. The first part is more or less the same as before. I have a singular life and a VLC object that I use to interact with my elements. Then I create an actual dialog. So this is what is different now. So how does my dialog look like? I have a couple of fields here, and these are actually the widgets that I want to add in my UI. So instead of adding a show UI method where I create all the UI block definitions and add them to a UI builder, I have here widgets, collapse buttons, label, drop downs as well, where I can show on the UI. So in my case, I need sections for my singular life and my VLC stream as well. So I created two sections for that. These can be seen here. And what is a section? A section is basically a part of a dialog. It can be used in multiple dialogues as well. And it also contains labels, text box, whatever you want to display for that specific section. In my case, I have one for singular life and one for VLC. Here, what's different to my dialog is that I have drop downs, and these need to be populated with data coming from my element. So in my case here, I retrieve the applications again from the singular life element, and then add these options to my dropdown. So you can see, instead of doing all this in my show UI method, for example, I'm doing all this when initializing my object. Another big difference is that I can have event handling now when, for example, an item in a dropdown is selected or a button is clicked. In this case, if something changes in my application dropdown, meaning a user selects another value, I want a method to be executed. And what I'll do here is actually just verify if the selected application is valid, meaning if there's no active flow already. So if I look at this, the checks themselves are similar to what we added before, but now I'm actually setting the validation state and validation text on my widget. Note that these validation states and texts are only available when you execute your script in HTML5. So to show this, I will execute the script from dashboard instead, where you'll see what this exactly looks like in case the validation state is invalid. Now, I have the same thing for my output stream. How do I add my widgets now to my dialog? So in my dialog, I'll show you first of all the generate UI method, which is a method I added for myself. So I first clear all the widgets from this dialog. I set the title, the min width, for example, and then I simply add all my widgets. When I have a section, I can add a section as well. So the full singular life section will be added here. And how does my dialog in this case know which widgets need to be added? Because I also have initialized my widgets on my section. In this case, it's similar to in a dialog where I just add all the widgets in my section, which is quite straightforward, and this is very clean to build your UI. Then in my dialog, I can simply with one method add all my widgets from this section in my dialog. Now, one thing very specific here as well is that I'm using collapse buttons. So instead of before where I had a window for singular life and then a next button to go to the VLC window, I'll add my singular life and VLC widgets all on a single window, but I'll use a collapse button to show or hide the configuration of a specific section. And that will become more clear when I show the actual UI. So here I can then also add my configure button, but instead of, as in my singular life, handling a button click directly in my dialog, I will instead handle this click in my main script run method. So here, when on my dialog the configure button is pressed, I will go to the configure button pressed method, where I will check first of all if my dialog is valid, meaning all the selections are okay and we can continue with our configuration. Afterwards, I will simply get the configuration details from my dialog, so the values that were selected in the dropdowns, for example, and then execute the configuration. Here you can see that this is quite similar to how we previously did the configuration. We are again using show progress. The main difference is instead of showing a new or using the features again available to show a window, I'm going to show either an exception dialog or a message dialog if everything succeeds. These are also dialogs that are standardly available, so I didn't need to create these classes myself. These are directly available in the toolkit. And they are very simple. They all have an OK button where you can they either execute or exit with success or with fail. And they add additional details with a message, a title, or some details about the exception. So now you could see that this is actually quite straightforward and clean to build my script. I don't have a big method anymore where all my UI block definitions are initialized and then added to the UI builder. Instead, all of my widgets are created up front, are initialized up front with the drop-down values as needed, and I can simply add all my widgets to my dialog or my section afterwards. Now, I told you I'm going to show this in HTML5, so for that I created a very small dashboard with a single button that executes my script. And if I click that, you can see I have my singular life section items, which are these two, and my VLC section items. And these are added to my entire dialog, where I also added a title and a collapse button. So if I now click this collapse button, it automatically collapses the widgets from my singular live section. I didn't need to do anything specific for that except linking my widgets to this collapse button. So now let's see if this still works. I select my TV studio, I'll leave the output stream as it is and click configure. Then it's again showing the progress, and if we now wait, we should show the message dialog in the end if everything succeeded. Okay, configuration succeeded. So this is actually the message dialog with a simple message and an OK button. If I now run my script again, I should not be able to select TV Studio because there's already a flow running. And when I select it, you can see a red border. This is automatically added because I set the validation state to invalid. And if I actually select it, you can see that my validation message is shown as well. Same for my stream. All my streams are in use, so there are no actual streams available, so I'm not able to configure in this case. This was a quick introduction to the Interactive Automation Toolkit, which makes it a lot easier to create and maintain your automation scripts.